All right, just imagine a project so huge, so ambitious, that it could literally redraw the travel map of the Philippines. We're talking about a 28-kilometer undersea tunnel, a link between two of the country's most vital islands, a way to turn a trip that's full of frustration into, well, a seamless highway. So how would that even work? Let's dive in.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at the problem, this strait of frustration. Then, we'll get into the solution, the massive 28-kilometer link. After that, we'll see how it could create a brand new tourism highway and what that means for the economy beyond just pretty views. And finally, we'll talk about what it's going to take to turn this massive dream into a reality.
You know, it all really boils down to these two simple words: the wait. For thousands upon thousands of travelers, this is the reality. It's this shared, frustrating experience, that endless pause when you're just trying to get from Luzon to the Visayas. And that right there is the exact problem this tunnel is designed to solve for good.
All right, so let's jump right into our first section, which really gets to the heart of the problem. We're talking about a strait of frustration, the daily absolute ordeal at the San Bernardino Strait. And look, this isn't just some minor inconvenience. It is a massive barrier to travel, to trade, to, well, everything.
And this really paints the picture of the chaos, doesn't it? I mean, just try to imagine this. You're trying to get home for the holidays, and you end up stuck in a line of cars and trucks for days at Matnog Port. And get this, the region gets hit by more than 20 typhoons every single year. That means the whole system could just shut down with zero warning. Your entire trip is just completely at the mercy of the sea.
But what if you could take the sea and the weather completely out of the equation? Well, that brings us right to the proposed solution. A permanent, engineered 28-kilometer link.
I mean, just look at that number, 28 kilometers. Let that sink in for a second. That's the proposed length of this thing, whether it's an undersea tunnel or a super long bridge. It's just a staggering distance, and it really drives home the absolute ambition of connecting Matnog and Sorsogon with Alam and Northern Samar. You know, for years and years, the idea of a bridge or a tunnel right here was, well, it was just talk. People called it a decades-old myth. But now it's becoming a real concrete vision. The whole point is to create what the engineers call a fixed link. And that's just a fancy way of saying something that doesn't care about the weather, doesn't care about schedules. It's just always there, always open.
So let's just break down the difference here, right? On one hand, you've got the ferry system we have now. It's totally weather dependent, has limited hours, and you never know how long you're going to wait. On the other hand, you've got the tunnel, all weather, 24/7 access, and totally reliable and consistent. It's a massive shift from maybe to definitely.
And that consistency, that's the foundation for a whole new economy in the region. And it all starts with tourism. I mean, we are literally looking at the birth of a new tourism highway, one that basically fuses two incredible regions, Bicol and Samar, into one single epic road trip.
All right, so let's start this virtual road trip on the Luzon side, in Bicol, known as the land of the Magayan, or the land of the beautiful. Think about it. With this tunnel, travelers coming from the Visayas can finally explore this amazing region without that constant stress of racing to catch the last ferry.
And what treasures are we talking about? Well, suddenly the perfect cone of Mayon Volcano is just a drive away. You want to swim with whale sharks in Donsol? That once-in-a-lifetime experience is now on a direct land route. Even the amazing Pili Nut Hills of Quinday are suddenly easy to get to. See, these aren't just pretty sights anymore. They become real economic engines just waiting to be fired up.
Okay, so now let's hop in our imaginary car and drive right through that tunnel. We pop out on the other side, in Samar, which has long been called the adventure capital of the Philippines. And you know, for Samar, its remoteness has always been both a blessing and a curse.
This tunnel, it's basically the key that unlocks this incredible hidden gem. You could go explore the magnificent Sohatan Natural Bridge. You could dive into the Lagoon Gobingob Caves, one of the largest cave systems in all of Southeast Asia, or you could go see the sheer power of the Pacific at the Buri Rock Formations. These amazing places are no longer some difficult, out-of-the-way side trip. They're right there on the main highway. And that means jobs, and that means opportunity. But look, this potential tourism boom, that's really just the beginning. It creates this powerful ripple effect that goes way beyond the scenic route. We're talking about something that touches the lives of everyday people and could totally transform the entire regional economy.
And this brings up a really cool idea, the weekend warrior effect. Just think about it for a sec. If you live in Metro Manila, a road trip to Samar for a long weekend, that's pretty much impossible right now. But with this tunnel, it suddenly becomes a totally doable adventure. And that is a complete game changer for domestic tourism. It's about injecting cash directly into these local economies that are now connected.
The economic integration here is it's profound. International tour operators can finally create land-based trips that are actually reliable, without that constant fear of a storm trapping their guests at Matnog Port. And hey, it's a two-way street. Local artisans can get their amazing abaca and bonnet products to a bigger market, way faster, connecting them directly with a brand new, steady stream of customers.
Okay, so this all sounds fantastic, right? But how does a dream this big actually become a reality made of concrete and steel? Let's take a look at the actual road ahead for this project.
Well, it all starts with this number right here, 130 million pesos. That's the amount that's been set aside for the super detailed feasibility study. Now sure, that's just a tiny fraction of what the whole thing will cost, but it is the crucial first step. It's what officially takes this project from just an idea and turns it into a viable plan.
And the ambition here is huge. They're aiming for the absolute best. The planners are looking at legendary engineering feats like Japan's Seacon Tunnel and the Channel Tunnel between the UK and France as their benchmark. And that means bringing in foreign expertise, using world-class technology, all to make sure this thing is built to last.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. We've talked about how this tunnel could totally change tourism and boost local economies. But it really makes you think, doesn't it? Beyond just connecting two islands, how else could a single tunnel, a single piece of infrastructure, truly, fundamentally redraw the map of an entire nation?